You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing there are Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz and this is...
Tobias.
Tobias, how's your New Year?
How was my New Year? My New Year was fine. I don't really do anything on New Year's Eve because I'm in my 40s and I don't want to do anything. So I stayed in, and it was a nice time. Emily and I normally we would have our friends the Benedicts over. You know Adam, of course, of the Pine Barrens Institute, but they were under the weather. So we just watched movies, two of us, and caught like a little bit of Nashville New Year's Eve because we like to watch some we want a countdown, you know what I mean? And we want that countdown to be televised with, you know, something in the range of B to C list celebrities telling us when midnight is approaching. And then when it does, you know, you get your kiss and everybody can get off to bed. And so that's what we did. And it was great. I had a nice fire going. I was in my pajamas. 10 out of 10, you know.
Well, at least you stayed up for it, I guess.
Yeah, I always stay up for it. Emily doesn't always make it if it's just the two of us. But if there's company, she'll manage to stay awake.
Yeah, I was definitely struggling with my old self. I'm like, man, I'm tired. I can't wait for this to be over. No, that's great. Anything else to report on in the last? I haven't talked to you since last year. You know.
Oh boy, I know. No, you know what? You know, I did submit the completed manuscript for that Mothman book that Richard and I were working on. That felt pretty good. That's been sent off to the publisher, Llewellyn. And so we'll see. I doubt that this is the complete and final version. They'll probably have some notes, hopefully not too many. But it feels good to have that done, you know, for the most part, be able to send it off. The vast majority of the work on that book is complete. So that's good. Otherwise, we switched our website over. Maybe I should mention that in case anybody was wondering.
Sure.
So, well, you know, it's funny. Like Emily has never been into this stuff like I am, you know, and it makes sense just with her personality. And she has other interests. You know, she's into her environmentalism, which, if we're being completely honest, is way more important than anything I fucking do. And so I think that we both had a different idea of what this field was before we entered it. And we don't necessarily have to beat that dead horse because Lord knows we talk about how fake and shitty this fucking field is enough. Oh, yeah. But, you know, I think that was really getting to her. And she saw what it was like. She saw what it had done to me because I've sort of got the worst end of that by far from people who fucking suck. And she just didn't want anything to do with it. It just ruined it for her. You know, like she's not motivated in the same way we are by feeling like we have to do this. And so she's just like, I don't have to fucking do this. I hate this shit, you know? And so she just didn't want to do it anymore. And I was picking up on that, and she wasn't going to tell me, but I could kind of see on my own, you know, when you're married to somebody, you pick up on this stuff. And so I just straight up asked her one morning, I was like, hey, you know, do you want to do this anymore? Like, just tell me the truth. Like, it's fine. And she said no. And I was like, that's great. I don't think you should, you know, like, I don't think you should. Like, let's just call it a day on the Singular Fortean Society. We'll switch the website over. I decided to call it A Singular Fortean instead. So we're really keeping the same logo. People who visit the website just to keep up on weird news or whatever I'm doing or anything like that aren't going to notice many changes. frankly. Like, I'm still going to be writing articles and all of the stuff I was already doing. Emily even will continue to make graphics and do design work and stuff. She just doesn't want to be exposed to this field anymore because it's really hard and it fucking sucks. And not to be like, I don't want to exaggerate, but I don't feel like I am when I say, like, if this isn't something of a calling, like, seriously, if this isn't something of a calling for you, don't fucking do it. Like, it's not worth it. And I think that's just what happened to Emily, and so she just washed her hands of it. But if you're interested in what she's doing, she's still around. You'll just have to find her on TikTok or Instagram or something, because she's just leaning into the stuff that she actually really gives a shit about, which is environmentalism. She does a lot with like pollinators and like native plant species and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. And the thing is, she's still interested in weird subjects. It's just the paranormal field is such a huge fucking turnoff. That's what she doesn't want anything to do with. So we'll still watch like documentaries on cults and shit. Like, if I want to, swing by a haunted fucking tourist trap on our way to vacation or something, she'll do that. But like, yeah, she doesn't want anything to do with this industry, and I don't blame her. So,
Well, and sometimes, distance can make the heart grow fonder. If she's out of it for a while, she could always, there's like no rules, right? She could always jump back into if she wanted to.
I mean, she could, but don't hold your breath,
I do know that Emily has either started or is working on starting her own podcast with somebody else, and that's geared towards her butterfly stuff. Is that correct? Am I right about that?
You are absolutely correct. So she did start a podcast. It is called Bees and Reverie. And it's a podcast about like native plants and pollinator habitats, and basically how people can just kind of make a difference in environmentalism where they live, like in their own backyard, basically. So very sort of local environmental issues and things of that nature. So, but that's what she cares about, like the paranormal is my thing. I feel like I have to be here. That's her thing. She feels like she has to be there. And I think that's great. I mean, we should all be doing what we feel like we are called to do, rather than trying to like, fit ourselves into again, and I cannot stress this enough, very difficult field to be a part of unnecessarily,
Yeah. Nobody has to be a martyr for the paranormal. It doesn't, you don't have to put yourself in that position. And like I said, there's no rules. You can quit, you can step away, you can come back. Sure. It's going to be here if you decide to do that, right? You're not going to miss anything. If there's something you're particularly passionate about, or you can just like not really get involved in the community itself, because that's probably your best bet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, the best thing I ever did for myself was really recognizing the things that I enjoy, like the parts of this field that I really, really enjoy, and then giving myself permission to only do those things from now on, because that's how you make it. It is. That's how you survive in this field, is by recognizing that you don't have to do shit. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. So only do the things that you actually want to do, and don't feel obligated to do a damn thing else, because Lord knows the money isn't fucking good enough to make that worthwhile. Just do what you want.
Yeah, no, definitely. For sure. So that is interesting. Now, you started that changeover a little bit before our break, but I do see you've updated the website, and so it's a little more, what it's going to be going forward. So
me focused. I mean, that's really what it is. It's like she just doesn't want to be sort of front and center anymore, and so like it's more or less my website now, basically.
Sure.
But, again, that doesn't change much because I did all of the writing and everything anyway. She's going to continue doing all the aesthetic stuff. So nobody's going to notice any big change. But for those people who were actually following us in particular, and know who we are, you won't be seeing too much of Emily in the paranormal sphere. There are some things she likes. Like she likes going to Haunted America because a lot of our friends are there. So she'll continue to go to Haunted America. That's
Yeah. Well,
just is what it is. Yeah.
Well, I guess I will update on how my year has been so far. And it's been
How was your year so far?
Yeah, it's been great. I had a really interesting encounter. Some people might see it as divinely guided, but we'll get into it. It's very fun. A little bit of synchronicity happened. So anyway, I had to re-sign my lease at my apartment, right? No big deal. You do it every year, right? That's what you do. And mine just happens to be in December. So over the break, I walk into the office to go sign my paperwork. And my leasing office has been a big shit show in the last 2 years. They can't keep people in there, so there's always new people coming in and out, and I don't really go in there ever, So I walk in, and it was the day after Christmas, and I was already starting to try to put some Christmas shit away. And I look like a bum. You would not recognize me off the street. I am bumming it out. I'm in fucking pajamas. And because I had to go get this sign before the new year. So I walk in and I have this Mothman hoodie that I got at the Mothman Festival. Okay. I own 2 of these Mothman hoodies. One fits and the other one is 2 sizes too big because I got it. It wasn't last year, but the year before. It rained all fucking day long on Sunday of that weekend. And I had to have something because I was soaking fucking wet. And the only thing that I could find was a 2 sizes too big Mothman hoodie. So I wear it when I'm slumming around. So I walk in the office and the woman there walks to greet me and she stops and points and she goes, Mothman. And I was like, yeah, Mothman. I got the Mothman Festival. She said, that's my hoodie. And I'm like, huh? I make that hoodie and sell it at the Mothman Festival.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what, really? I own 2 of these. And they're the booth. Probably people that have been listening to this, they're actually right across the street from the Mothman Museum with all the hoodies and shit, right in front of the Low Hotel. That's her. And she's like, I've been doing, I've been doing investigations for years, me and my nephew and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh man, I live right over in Beaver Creek, it's right up the road, doesn't matter. We kind of got to talking about it and I made a new friend, I hope. I haven't talked to her since, but it's been the holidays. So, sure. But what a fucking weird small world thing. What are the chances of that? You know what I mean? Neither of us are from there.
Right.
So weird.
You just never know.
You literally never know who you're gonna see. So that was cool, and it's kind of nice because I don't know, I like to make friends with the people that I give my money to every month because that's the way to do it, right? So I don't mind that either. But yeah, super interesting. So I don't know if she was inviting me to go investigate. I guess they've rented out the Mansfield, the Ohio State Reformatory, and they're going to go investigate it in the spring. And she's like, if you want to go, I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I want to go. It's $2,500 to rent that bitch out overnight. So yeah, I want to go. So I'm probably going to go do that with them. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see if we hit it off. So anyway, that was, I thought, a really fun story that I thought you guys might enjoy hearing. Other than that, man, I've been getting some serious R&R in because I've done nothing but work my fucking ass off the last 3 months and I'm tired. So now that it's the new year, I'm going to say it for accountability. I am going to finish this Indrid Cold book, and you guys can come buy it at the Frogman Festival first weekend of March. What is that, March 1st and 2nd? We're going to be there. Yeah. And it's going to be there. I don't have a choice now. I'm already selling it to you guys. You're already pulling out your money and giving it over. It's going to happen. So that is now my next hyper focus. is getting my first fucking book done. Jesus, it's about time, right? So there we go.
All right. Well, looking forward to that then.
That's it basically. I guess we'll let's slide into some news. I don't have a lot of news. Just kind of things I guess I want to comment on a little bit.
Okay.
Of course, we have the Bigfoot hunters that unfortunately passed while hunting for Bigfoot, and everybody in the Bigfoot community seems to think that. Yeah, I mean, you already know what they think. Come on, Tobias. Bigfoot killed them, right? It can't be what the news is saying it is. It's got to be Bigfoot that killed them.
Of course.
And, this was kind of a fun, sensational... It's not a fun story, but to the media, it's been like a fun story because, they were out there hunting for Bigfoot and they died. Well, the guys died of exposure.
Of course.
I'll remind you that nature will kill you. Like, it is the biggest serial killer known to man. We will never hold it accountable, right? It will kill your ass if you're not prepared. That's what they got taken by, is just terrible weather conditions, and they died. And I'm just so tired of seeing people attribute it to something it's not. And I don't know what to do about it. I guess there's nothing we can do about it. I don't know.
But Missing 411 said... No, yeah, I am also very fucking over that shit. People's lives are not for your fucking entertainment. Neither are their goddamn deaths. So give it a rest, you fucking crackpots. Like, if people are dying of exposure looking for Bigfoot, then this community has a real fucking education issue. And that's what we should be concentrating on, not making up fairy tales about killer fucking cryptids. Like, maybe if we spent more time talking about fucking safety tips and how to take care of yourself to make sure that people weren't wandering out unprepared, we would have fewer people dead to blame on fucking Bigfoot. Like, my God, people.
Yeah. And, and I'll say that the conditions out there are really treacherous. Of course, did a little digging. That particular was up in the PNW. It's winter, it is very deadly. And even if they have been prepared, this still could have happened, because that's just the way shit works sometimes. It is dangerous to go out into the fucking woods. It is, period. So I don't know. I don't know if they were ill prepared. I don't know the details. It's not my fucking business. And that's kind of the point. What I do know is that they weren't killed by fucking Bigfoot. So Stop. Just stop.
Yes. No, I'm not in any way necessarily blaming the victims of this tragedy. I'm just saying that there is a huge lack of education in this field. And it is never more evident than when something truly tragic like this happens. And, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. People need to know better. People need to be better than this. But I do think overall a better emphasis on safety while investigating would do a lot of good. And so I would like to see more people concentrating on that.
Yeah, spend your time on that. Not making up conspiracies and making stupid videos and stuff about it. Don't send that shit to my inbox. Don't do it. I mean, if you want to just kind of send me a news story, that's fine. For the most part, I'm pretty friendly. But if you start talking about how Bigfoot killed these people, I am going to be very mad at you. So don't do it.
If you want me to laugh at you, send that stuff to Asherz and she can show me. And I'll be like, look at this fucking rube and that stupid shit they sent you. What a moron. Yeah, it'll be great.
That's how it will go. So that happened. On to a different note. The fog. Tobias, have you seen The Fog?
I have heard of The Fog. I have not seen The Fog. It has not passed Wisconsin, I guess.
There's a big fog. I don't even know where it's happening. There's a big fog happening. People are saying that it's killing people. It's making people sick. It's poisonous fog. It's not poisonous fog, you guys. It probably does stink. Fog can stink because odor will attach to water molecules. If you don't know what fog is, it's actually just water molecules that make it difficult to see because the air is literally wet. You just can't see it enough for it to be wet, so it looks like fog. And because odor attaches to water molecules like that, it might smell bad because of pollutants. And pollutants, they might even actually make you not feel great for a minute. You might get like a cough and things in the I don't know if anybody's ever been in fog before, but that can happen.
It sounds like poison. I don't know.
It's not poisoning people. This is normal for fog. So I don't know if this is happening in an area where they don't typically get fog. I'm in the Midwest. We get it a lot. Tobias, do you guys get fog sometimes?
Well, we live on Earth, so yes. I'm trying to picture somebody who's just never been in fog before, who is just completely surprised, just has no idea how to deal with this brand new weather phenomenon that they have never fucking experienced before. They're like, it's wet, but it's also cloudy, and oh god, like what?
I breathe in deep. It hurts
Who
my
are
lungs.
these people? Yes.
That's that's what happens when water droplets get into your lungs. I'm just not even gonna keep explaining. Listen. Look, if somebody has if you have taken samples of this fog and you have a private lab somewhere and you can show me evidence that this is something other than just run-of-the-mill fog, I will listen. Otherwise, don't send that shit to my inbox either. I don't want to hear it. Okay.
Is it the latest conspiracy theory? Is this like a government? Yes. Is this like chemtrails come to Earth? Operation yes. Fallen Angel? That's what I'm calling it.
What? That's its name now. Well, and some people think a lot of people think it's attached to, guess what? The drones.
The drones, chemtrails, Operation Fallen Angel. You heard it here first.
They've kind of disappeared, right? But they did their job, right? They released their fog out in the world, and so now they're gone. I don't know, you guys. I'm too tired to keep up with this shit. I'll be honest with you. It's too much. But
just
okay.
So tired.
Whatever. Like I said, if you have proof, I don't know if you guys know what proof is, not speculation, but proof. I will take proof. I'm tired of the speculation. I'm done with that. On to bigger and better things, I guess, hopefully.
I would even accept an anecdotal experience. Like if you were in some weird ass fog and you were like, look, I'm not an idiot. I've been in fog before, but this fog fucking made my throat sore and my lungs burn and my eyes water. Then let me know and I will take that shit seriously. The people I make fun of are the people who are basically just speculating based on whatever fantastical narrative they have created in their mind. But if you have a real experience, then that shit fucking matters to me. That's what I care about. So yeah, I mean, if there's something to this, I want to know. But if it's just rumors on the internet, which is all I'm seeing right now, then yeah, I'm going to think it's just a little dumb.
Yeah. And that goes for the first story. If you've been killed by a Bigfoot, we want to know about it.
It's true. Just come haunt me. Let me know, but not in like a scary way, like in a cool way, So like, I'm just saying, I don't even need like jump scares or anything. Just like, like open the fridge and like grab me a soda and I'll be like, ooh, super haunted. Were you killed by a Bigfoot? Yeah.
You just have to say yes. And that's all. That's
Yep. And then you can get the fuck out. It's fine.
That's it. But that's what I got. That's all I got. So
nice.
That was all my steam or my fog rather for this episode. I don't know if you have any news, but
well, the only thing I've covered lately, I've got some personal reports from people that I'm currently working on, but the only thing that I've been covering lately are those mystery drones, and they haven't stopped completely. I think that we're past the the zenith. Right, like past the climax of this flap, but people are there's still reports trickling in. It's not getting as much coverage as it once was, but it is interesting stuff. I was struck by the similarities between this mystery drone flap and so many really mass UFO sightings that we've had before. But what's really interesting is a lot of people don't know this isn't even the first series of reported mystery drone sightings in the 21st century. Like back in 2019, authorities in a corner of rural northeastern Colorado and western Nebraska were at a loss to explain the same damn thing flying over several counties across those two states. People were reporting these bizarre mystery drones. And this is 5 years ago on the other side of the damn country, Now, combine that with the reports around military sites. So that's interesting, right? But also nothing new. You live in Ohio, so I'm sure you were painfully aware of Wright-Patterson shutting down over some reported drone. But that shit happens more often than anybody wants to admit. And in fact, it's not even new to this century. This is something people have been talking about since the 1960s, right? So you can go all the way back to 1967, yeah. So you've got March 16th, 1967. There were strange lights in the sky that seemed to deactivate a score of ICBM missiles at two sites attached to Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. I'm sure all of the UFO nerds are already totally familiar with that. And frankly, we could do a whole episode on it and probably should because it's fascinating. But weird, unidentified flying objects interacting with military sites, also nothing new. Mass UFO sightings, not new at all. Hell, within our lifetimes, we had the Phoenix lights. That was a big one. Interestingly enough, the Phoenix lights, just like the mystery drones today, were initially ridiculed by authorities. So back then you had the governor of Arizona coming out and doing a press conference with some goofball dressed up like a fucking alien. Now we're not quite at that level, but the White House did come out and basically say, look, it's all just misidentifications, and whatever isn't a misidentification is mass hysteria. You morons, go home. Which has gone over like a lead balloon, as you can well fucking imagine, because nobody wants to hear that shit from the government, me included. But it still isn't different than the reaction or response that we should all be used to at this point. So I guess what is most interesting to me about this flap is sort of what it represents. And that is the short memory that we collectively, and by we, I mean we as a society, not you and I who are painfully aware of this kind of stuff, but the short memory that we as a society seem to have for these phenomena, where when this happens, it's always this new novel event rather than people going, oh shit, another one? This has been happening forever. And it's always the same, or at least there are these hallmarks, there are these commonalities, not necessarily hallmarks, but there are commonalities. There are similar qualities shared amongst these flaps every time they fucking happen. And it's like everybody forgets between the last one and the next one. So that's what I've been thinking about.
You've been thinking about that a lot lately, huh?
I have. Yeah, I don't know if you could tell, but yes, a lot.
I'm going to start ending every sentence with that. That's what I've been thinking about.
In case you guys were wondering.
I've never seen a musician ever sneeze or cough or throw up on stage, and that's what I've been thinking about. That's weird. Never.
Oh, now I'm going to think about that. I've never seen that.
Right, now
either.
Think about it.
Probably robots.
You just think about that. Do it.
You go to your room and you think about it.
You really think about it. Anyway, no, you're absolutely right. This isn't new. I'll be honest, I can't really think of the newest thing in ufology. Can you? None of this has been new. Not the disclosure, not the the alleged disclosure. Not these drones, not orbs. Right? None of that is new. So are we ever going to get answers? People are like, well, we're going to demand answers now. They just did that with these mystery drones, and guess what happened? There's still no answers. So
yeah, no answers are forthcoming.
So
well, it's interesting. I think it was my my buddy Josh Kutchin. Everybody knows Josh. He's a great guy, but he said something really insightful on social media, and I'm gonna have to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what it was. But basically he was calling out the different cultural interpretations for UFOs across different eras, right? So you go from the 19th century airship to ghost rockets to flying saucers, and we're all the way up to drones now. So that's now we're in the era of drones. We've come from all the way from airships to drones. That's what we're calling our UFO flaps now.
Yeah, it is interesting. Well, cigars made a comeback for a minute in the form of Tic Tac instead of cigar now. I guess because it's not cool to smoke anymore. So
right, everybody loves the cool, fresh breath of a Tic Tac.
Right. Nobody likes the nicotine riddled breath of a cigar.
That's right. Nobody wants to kiss a smoker. Everybody wants to kiss a Tic Tac user. So.
It is really interesting. And Keel would say that it's because the phenomena follows our trends, right? That's what it is.
I don't think that's right, but yeah.
Well,
he would say that.
He would say that.
I just don't agree with him.
And that's okay. I mean, because, it stands to reason that our folklore would actually morph with our society. Whatever. It's another episode. We just talked about this the last episode.
It's just funny because he said a lot of things that if you're reasonably educated, you're like, yeah, but we've had an answer for that for decades, dude. Just because you didn't know what it was doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right. He's just psychology, folklore. Nobody's ever studied that. Nobody could possibly have an explanation for this other than whatever cosmic trickster thing I've come up with. Okay, dude, great. Fine then.
Just fine. You know what, Keel? Why don't you go think about that, huh?
Right? You just get in your room and you think about it. You think about those poor musicians.
That's what I've got to say about that. So,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like I said, we literally just talked about it last episode. If you didn't hear it, you have no excuse. You had 2 weeks. I don't know what you're doing with your life. It's not like there were 2 major holidays or anything. So,
right.
Get it together. Well, speaking of UFOs, we're going to talk about UFOs today. I bet you didn't know that.
I mean, I did. We should all hope that I knew that.
Yes, I would hope that you knew that. No, we talked about it very, very, very briefly last episode as, kind of a precursor, right. And we are going to deliver on that promise. So, Tobias, before we get into it, what's your personal history with the Rendlesham Forest encounter, incident, UFO, whatever you want to call it?
Oh, boy, I mean, this is one of the big ones. If you're into UFOs at all and you have not heard of Rendlesham Forest, then I don't know what to tell you, dude. You gotta you gotta rethink your devotion to this subject. You gotta get your shit together because Rendlesham Forest, it's a big deal. It's one of those that's been covered on a million different TV programs. You've heard people talk about it. It has morphed completely into something different than it was when it started, which all the best UFO stories do, of course. And yeah, no, I don't. It's one of the pillars of like ufology. It's a big deal. You know, everybody should know Rendlesham.
Well, I feel like a lot of people don't really know about it. I feel like they've heard the name and like, I don't know, maybe they've heard something about it. But honestly, and I'm just basing this entirely off of, I try to do an engagement post on the day that we record, ask on social media what you guys think about it. Some people had no idea, and there wasn't as much response. Now, maybe that's just because I am not cool on social media anymore. I don't know. But I think there's some ignorance there. And it's because there seems to be two different stories being told with this incident. And that's really interesting, right?
Well, there's definitely multiple versions of this story. Those must have all been ghost people or something. Like, you can't be into UFOs and not know Rendlesham. And I'm not gonna go, I guess, spend a lot of time on this because I feel like I've been ranting a lot already. But come on, people, get it together. Just get your shit together. Do it.
Well, unless, of course, this is your first episode ever here, and this is the first time you're ever hearing about any of this. Well, welcome. You've made a really smart choice to listen to this episode. We'll deliver. I promise.
I've got like 2 weeks of being a dick that it's all pent up now, and I'm just letting it all out.
You missed out on it.
Yeah, I just haven't been a ranty jerk for 10 days, and I'm losing it. It's like the floodgates are open. So
this will be a fun one then to get into, won't it?
Yeah, right.
So, okay. Let's get into it. So in 1983, a memorandum was released under the under FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act, written by RAF Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, titled "Unexplained Lights." And this was really the first time anybody had gotten a hold of this story. So this was 3 years after the fact. Of a mysterious incident that seemed to happen at the RAF Woodbridge base in Suffolk. I can't say it. Suffolk. Oh my God. It happened in England, motherfuckers. It was across the pond.
All those English names are deceptively difficult to pronounce, though, too.
How do you say it? Suffolk?
Suffolk, I think. Yeah, I think you got to say it with an accent.
You know what? Suffolk
for it to make sense.
What I've got to say.
Yeah,
that's
you could suck it, England.
Suck it. Yeah, there we go. You can just go to your room and think about that, England. So anyway, again, this was the first time anybody had really laid eyes on this report. There was some buzz locally around this strange incident, but not much, because the area that this happened in, Rendlesham Forest, was sandwiched at the time between two bases, U.S. military bases, right? So there was Woodbridge is the most notable one. The other one, I can't remember what it was called because I'm stupid and didn't write it down, but it doesn't matter because most of the parties that we're going to discuss today came from the Woodbridge one. So not a lot of civilians in the area. It's farmland mostly. But again, some of the locals kind of knew a little bit about what's going on because some of them were questioned about things around that time. So what did the memorandum say? What was the big deal with this memo that came out? So the memo actually wasn't that impressive. All it states was that it says December 27th, 1980, which there is some discrepancy about that. Mm-hmm. A couple of security patrol officers out there saw lights in the woods. They went out to go investigate, and they didn't find whatever it was that caused these lights. However, they had gone back later when there was daylight, and they did end up finding some like impressions on the ground in like a triangle shape. And, they did, of course, come across some, broken branches on trees and, interesting things like that. So there was maybe some evidence that there was a craft in the area, which is why Charles Holt was called in to investigate. Charles Holt then also mentioned being there and doing some like radioactivity tests. They were like testing to see if those impressions were radioactive.
Sure.
And they were and they weren't. So they did get some strange nuclear readings from the depressions on the ground, but when I kind of looked this up, they didn't really seem significant. I mean, you have like certain degrees of radioactivity in general areas, just period.
Yeah, they're not spectacular. What is interesting though, like I'm looking at this memo right now, and the way that the lights are described is really, really fascinating to me. So like right there in the memo, like right like out of the gate, he's just like, hey, at first we thought an aircraft might have crashed.
Yes.
Like that's a big deal because an aircraft fucking crashing is very noticeable. So that right there tells you that whatever it was not some minor phenomenon, like it was big enough that they could have suspected that something like that had happened, And then they talk about it being strange lights, but that's not all. Because also in the memo, he says that the object was described as being metallic in appearance and triangular in shape, approximately 2 to 3 meters across the base and approximately 2 meters high. So that's a weird fucking shape. You know what it reminds me of? Mystery drone. I mean, honestly, right? So that's fucking weird. And then he talks about like it illuminating the entire forest with this white light. He says that the object itself had a pulsing red light on top and a bank of blue lights underneath. Again, mystery drone. Did they have mystery drones back then? I don't know. I think we just called them UFOs. Anyway, so like there is some detail that is pretty fucking interesting when it comes to describing like that initial object. And then later they see this red sun-like light that's basically being witnessed through the trees. It's like moving around and pulsing. Like that's fucking weird. And at one point it even like appears to throw off glowing particles and then breaks into 5 separate white lights and then those all disappear. So like it's bananas, this isn't just like
that was Holt experiencing that firsthand after he had come out to investigate.
Yeah, I think so.
So you had two different sightings of something anomalous going on, right? Because he came out after the fact. He wasn't there for the initial investigation. While he's investigating, him and a bunch of other people see this, see these interesting lights that were happening. And what's really neat about it is that they actually so Charles Holt had a tape recorder with him at the time. And he actually on tape has them like describing what they're seeing. If you listen to it, it's not very long. It's about 20 minutes long. He said it's because, they were out there for a long time. He kept stopping and starting the tape. Of course, he didn't catch everything. But they are describing like the red lights and they're talking about it. And so that's pretty neat because you don't really, that's like the 80s version of video, I guess. I mean, really, it's the closest you're going to get.
Right. Well, yeah, like they had camcorders and shit back then, but they weren't common, like you wouldn't probably just grab one and like off of your Air Force base and run out into the woods with it. Yeah, no, but it is really, really interesting. And, it's something that gets glossed over a lot in people or by people who I think are very willing to dismiss this case. But that initial description of what is going on, it describes something pretty fucking weird.
Yeah. And what is unfortunate about these situations, and again, we're talking military, right? So we're talking credible sources. It should be credible sources, right? We expect that. And, official documentation on something very weird. Now, this was after, Project Blue Book was done, right? Well, allegedly, I'm sure they've been investigating this stuff for years. It just happens. But like, the 80s, the 80s was definitely a big sci-fi time. People were like into this shit. And so this was very exciting just to have this little memo of validation. But the unfortunate part of having something come out 3 years after events is that any credible investigator then has to work backwards to try to dig deeper into it. And that is really where the Rendlesham Forest incident starts. So let's talk about what happened on that evening. According to all of the eyewitnesses that were there that experienced that initial light, this actually took place on December 26th. Now, it's very possible that Holt just got it wrong because he wasn't there. He didn't show up until the 28th to actually take his reports and share, have his memo written up. So on the evening of December 26th, now this is like Christmas night going into the 26th. So this is like 3 a.m. And security patrolman John Burroughs was initially saw the lights. Somebody else, another security patrol person from the other base, also saw the lights. But because he was communicating with the Woodridge base, he didn't send his people out to go investigate it because they said that they were already on it and they cleared it that night. So they just saw them but didn't go investigate them.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You go out in the woods and investigate the spooky lights.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not doing it. I don't fucking know.
All right.
It's like, oh, okay, you guys got it? Cool.
Yeah, rad.
Like, it's literally Christmas. Like, I'm good. I'm not trying to see Santa
right.
tonight.
Over here trying to drink my eggnog, watch a little Rudolph. I'm not trying to get killed by some spook lights in the forest.
Yeah, no thank you. So they all, got lucky and they stayed in. So you had Patrolman John Burroughs. You also had, where's the rest of my list here? There they are. You also had Edward Cabinsag. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Do you?
I would go. Okay, yeah. So you've got Airman Edward and Cabinsag. That's what I would go with.
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with Cabinsag, and then you also had Jim. I know it's not Penis Ton, but I really want to say
it's Jim Peniston, and Jim Peniston. I know how to pronounce his name because he will become the leading figure in Rendlesham. Now, Colonel Holt still talks at conferences and shit. He's going to be at a conference this year in Pennsylvania, I think. But I think more people have probably heard Jim Peniston's name because of how sensational his testimony has become in the ensuing, 4 decades since this actually happened.
Yeah. And Peniston, I mean, he basically, he started doing TV interviews in 2003 and then hasn't stopped since then.
Right. He put out a book in 2014. I saw him speak at a MUFON symposium, a little one here in Wisconsin when I was still a MUFON field investigator. And that I think would have been around the time his book came out or was coming out. So interesting stuff.
Definitely the name that everybody recognizes in this situation, and there's reason for it. We'll get into it. Right. And then there was also J.D. Chandler, who was the person on the other end of the radio. He didn't go into the woods. The other 3 guys went into the woods. He was just on backup radio, basically. and he'll play a part in this. So anyway, so John Burroughs, they see these lights in the woods, and like Tobias described them, they are very anomalous, and they weren't initially thinking aliens, right? They were thinking of maybe a downed craft. They were thinking of the Soviets, right? Maybe having a spy craft in the area. Because yes, Tobias, drones were a thing then.
Now that you mentioned that, how fucking much does that parallel, and I'm going to keep going on about this because the parallels are so fucking many. How well does that parallel the current fucking narrative around the mystery drones? Then it was the Russians, now it's the Chinese.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Well, and I'm just saying, because I technically listened to it because I was here, I'm going to chalk it up to the Wild Hunt.
Okay. I was thinking it. We were all thinking it. So yeah, probably Wild Hunt related.
We were all thinking it. We all know. So obviously, no. They didn't know, and so they wanted to go check it out and go see what was going on. So they all go out into the woods, and they all kind of have their own testimonies. And I found a really awesome website. I'm going to link it in the description, of somebody who has done more than a week's work of homework on this, and has all of this. You can read all the original testimonies and all that. And they all basically said the same thing, right? They would go and they would see the lights, and they would get kind of close to it, but not really, and then it would shoot off again. And again, I'm going based off of the original testimonies, not anything that's come out later. A lot of stuff has come out later. But none of them got close enough to actually see what it was. And the way that they all describe this light is that it was like a rotating beacon. So they all pretty much decided this was probably something that they just didn't know about in the area. They were going to go back. They were going to investigate more in the morning once the light seemed to stop. I believe it was not Chandler, but Cabin Sag, who said the light seemed to come around in like 5-minute intervals. So it kind of disappeared, and then it would be back again, and then it would disappear, and it would come back again. So they call the police. After it becomes light outside, the police come out, and while they're out there looking more and waiting for the police to come out, that's when they find the impressions on the ground. The police come and also observe the impressions. They weren't really impressed. They thought that maybe there was some marks on nearby trees and, things like that, little pieces of evidence. And that's why they called Holt in to investigate further. That's what it is originally. I don't know how to segue into Peniston and what he says about it.
Well, I mean, okay, so I think we could start with what some other people were saying at the time. So, like, again, I'm looking
Years
at
later.
the initial memo, but like going back to those radiation readings, like they were moderate. So it wasn't nothing necessarily.
Yeah.
But, it wasn't like fucking Chernobyl or anything. But no, I'm actually reminded of so at the time, and this didn't come out until much later, but at the time there was a forestry worker, Vince Thurkettle.
Yep.
And I don't know if you were going to mention this, but it seems like a sort of appropriate place, right? Because when this all happened, he was a forestry worker, lived nearby, and he said that he was approached by two men that he described as being about 30 and dressed in suits that pulled up to his house in a car shortly after this had happened. And they just asked him a bunch of questions, and it was all very weird. And he didn't really know where they were from or why they were asking him questions. He thought maybe they might have been journalists or something, but they didn't identify themselves. So like that was bizarre, and it piqued his curiosity, and naturally he wanted to go check out the area where these lights were seen. And he said he went out there, and was particularly interested in finding the area where these like depressions were. But when he did, then he was not impressed. He said when he got to this area, he said that it looked like rabbits had made the depressions, and I think he was the first, or certainly one of the first, if not the first, to float like my least favorite explanation for these sightings. Which I don't know if we want to get into that this early, but it's the leading popular like skeptical explanation. So if you know anything about Rendlesham, you'll know where you'll know where I'm going. Honestly.
It's potentially a lighthouse is what they saw. Spoiler alert.
So we do want to go there. That fucking lighthouse. Yeah. So there's this lighthouse. It's like 10 miles away, right? Yeah. And supposedly like you could see it like under certain conditions through the trees in this forest. Now, the lighthouse keepers will tell you that they never shone inland. Like they only shone the light out to sea, which is kind of the point of a lighthouse. So like that makes a certain amount of sense. Yeah. But, old Vince is like, well, that's rubbish. Whatever, like it shines inland all the time. And that's what they saw was this stationary lighthouse just occasionally shining through the forest, and then they never saw it again, and they never saw it before then. Just that one fucking night, just long enough on one night for them to mistake it for crazy UFOs. That's the only time they ever saw the lighthouse. So mystery solved, I guess. I'm so mad.
But he did get questioned by some weird guys, And,
he did.
Who knows? Which he probably did. There was an investigation into what had happened that night. But again, this wasn't publicized at all until 1983, 3 years later. So there's probably more people with similar stories. I'll be honest with you. If they found anybody in that area, any locals outside of the base, they probably questioned them. Who's they? You know who they are. You know who they are. And if you don't, you probably need to go to your room and think about that. Okay? So
you get in there. You get in your room. You think about why I'm so mad right now. You just think about it.
You think about them, okay?
You think about why I'm mad. You think about Jim Penis Town. You just think about all of it.
Oh, that's my porn name if I ever decide to go that route. If the podcast
Jim
don't work out.
Jim Penis Town. Yeah.
I'm going to be Jim Penis Town. Anyway, so that's story number one. Okay, we'll get into like speculation and our theories and our ideas on what we think. But like I said, there's literally two stories here. Right. And that is story number one. Oh, this weird, strange encounter with a weird light, a craft, who knows, something, which they did have some type of description of said craft. But a lot of them in the original written statements, which of course could have been different from what they had verbalized to Holt at the time that he showed up. Because they're telling two different stories. It's not like Holt was typing it out while they were saying it. They describe a craft sometimes, and then other times it's that they didn't get a close enough look at it. So who knows? There's a lot of inconsistencies with this sighting, and it could just be poor investigative work, because that's what the military does. I know you guys think they're so cool and so smart. They're really not. But anyway.
Sure. Well, we know for a fact that the Ministry of Defense didn't really take this seriously.
No, they didn't.
And didn't really care much about it. And really, like, outside investigation of this case I don't think it really happened prior to the early 2000s.
Yeah.
When the Ministry of Defense file was like released to where you could actually get it with a FOIA request.
Yeah.
So it's not like people were looking into this outside of the military prior to like 2001.
Because
You know?
your American FOIA request is going to give you different information than your UK FOIA request. And so you didn't have the whole story at the time, you know, and not that you have the whole story now, who knows? But no, you're absolutely right. It's kind of a newer thing, not a newer thing necessarily.
That was 25 years ago, or I'm sorry, 24 years ago, but yes, I get
well,
it.
you know, it's newer. It's a newer thing. What's 25 years? What's that? Time isn't real, Tobias.
I know. I hate it. I hate it so much.
So let's move on to the other story. So if you just look up Rendlesham and you just kind of get the Cliff Notes version, what you're going to get is story number 1, the weird lights, right? Which in and of itself is interesting enough. What you're going to get with story number 2, which is definitely the more popular story, because it's been televised over and over again, is with Jim here and his experiences with chasing down this light. I don't know. I mean, I'm just gonna say the basic version of it, and it'll get weirder and weirder because the more Jim tells the story, the weirder it gets. So Jim has gone on to talk to people privately, but this all didn't really come to light until he was on something. I don't remember. I didn't put down what it was. Some TV show for the History Channel or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of relayed his experience. And he says while he was out there, he had a very different experience, that he actually came upon a craft that was landed in the woods. Okay. And he goes on to explain this craft in great detail. He goes up and he touches the craft and gains a bunch of knowledge from said craft. Knowledge
Through it as a download of information.
Yeah, knowledge was downloaded into his brain when he touched it, and for him, this was an experience that went on for about 45 minutes, and the whole time he had a notebook with him. And he was writing notes, and there were like these weird symbols and stuff on the ship that he like jotted down and drew pictures of, and you know he's writing down everything every step of the way. However, nobody else has verified that. So like John Burroughs, who was like his partner out there, says that like that didn't happen. Like there literally was not enough time. Like 45 minutes did not even pass.
Right.
And of course the UFO community is like, well, but that's what happens because why? Because exactly what I just said, time isn't real. So what does it matter anyway, how long it was for John Burroughs compared to Jim Penistown, because it didn't matter.
Poor Peniston. Well, see, the other part of this though is that like all of these guys made initial written statements. They all did.
Yeah.
You can
they
look
did, and none of it mentioned coming even
Peniston's
close.
like initial statement, and he doesn't mention any of that shit. Like none of it. And of course, like the narrative that he has created is that, you know, after this happened, he was they were all taken aside by some mysterious fucking figures who threatened them, warning them not to tell anybody exactly what happened, and yada, yada, yada. The same shit everybody says when they change their story fucking 20 years later. But yeah, anyway.
And like I said, you know, pick your story in this one. It seems like whatever it is you watch Peniston on, wherever he gives the interview, the story changes each time. So it just gets weirder and weirder. You know, eventually he had, in this notebook, he had some type of binary code written, and that's become a big thing, right? And this is a message that he received that was downloaded into his brain, and it's a message. I don't even know what the message is supposed to be. People have tried to decode it, and they seem to add a lot of nuance with the decoding. First of all, it's a human-made form of communication. Yeah. Which is weird because it's like, okay, if these things can speak to us in like binary code, why not just speak to us in like regular English and be like, hey, brother.
Because you got to earn it.
you got to work for it.
Yeah. They're not going to give a shit. You got to fucking earn it.
You got to work for it.
You got to want it.
And people on the internet have wanted it, and they've gotten the direct translation of this code is nothing. But people have kind of, like I said, added some nuance to it, and it's like a message. Allegedly, okay, this is the story now that Peniston said. These are time traveling humans, and they had a message to save humanity, basically, and for us to not make some terrible mistake.
Just buy my book for $15.99, available on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. We've heard this story before, right? That's the message the aliens always give us: is stop destroying yourselves. And they're right. Like, I'm not saying that they're wrong, because like we really suck, and we're not going to be able to live on this planet in 100 years. But whatever. So they're totally right about that. But it's I'm just saying, it sounds a little plagiarized.
Whatever, aliens, you're not my real dad. I'll destroy myself if I want.
I'm not going to be here. It's not my problem. So here we are. Again, that story just gets stranger and stranger. But that is what has propelled this into, I think, popularity. And what's sad is that Charles Holt, believes in this story wholeheartedly. Heartedly, if I may.
You may. Permission granted.
He backs Peniston and says, yes, this is what's going on. And all of the US and all of the UK government is covering up this story and doesn't want people to know, because this absolutely happened. And it's just, it's very unfortunate. I'm going to be honest with you, because I think that Holt, he even went as far as to sign an affidavit stating, like, yes, this was an extraterrestrial event, and all of what has been said about this conspiracy is true. And I just think that, I guess I'm going to jump the gun a little bit and we can reel it back. I think that Holt did have a weird experience. I think those guys all had a weird experience, but I don't think it involved Peniston being downloaded with information from a craft that he came upon. I don't think that part happened. And I think that he has sort of taken advantage of this man and his anomalous experience to back his own story for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is entirely possible. I would say that is a very possible scenario here.
But with that, now that we're kind of moving into personal opinion and speculation, am I missing out any details? I guess we'll kind of talk about Peniston a little bit more. So Peniston's got this notebook. Again, Burroughs says that notebook didn't exist. And J.D. Chandler, who was the guy on the radio with Peniston, says that he was responsive the entire time. There was never any period of time where he was not. There was
never any point of time where he was clearly receiving a download of information in binary.
Nope, not once.
Yeah, okay, just didn't happen.
I know, everybody's surprised by that, but yeah.
Yeah, right. I just love that it's like written in binary, but it's like binary gibberish.
Yeah.
As though it's like the kind of thing that you would do, like, oh, okay, so I saw binary once on an episode of Star Trek, but I don't really know how it works. But I do know it's ones and zeros. So if I just write enough of those down, yeah.
Pretty much. And, people have called into question the validity of the notebook in general, right? Just kind of trying to track when the notebook first made its appearance. Was it on TV? Well, there are people that have come forward stating that Peniston had shown them this notebook in the early 90s. Mm. So, this very well could have been something that he had been working on for decades. For decades to come up with the story, which is so weird. And it goes to show, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the guy's let's just say he is mentally sound. Man, you can really get far by just digging your heels in and going, I don't care what everybody else around me says, even literally the people that were there with me that saw me the whole fucking time. I'm telling you that this happened. And that gets way too far. It goes too far in this community. We got to draw the line somewhere.
There are no lines. We have destroyed every fucking line. And well, like you mentioned before, it's not as though this case was unheard of until the 2000s.
Yeah.
Because people had the Halt memo in 83, 84. And like UFO researchers had it at that point. And so like it was something that I think hardcore ufologists were aware of. It just didn't really gain like a lot of public popularity until the early 2000s. So, but yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Amongst UFO researchers, you have this story starting to circulate, and at a certain point, if you're say a Jim Peniston or somebody, you might go, well, okay, like this could be a thing. I can make this a thing, right? And so you might, you might concoct a journal in fucking sci-fi fucking binary, and then make up a story to go along with it about saving the fucking world or whatever other contactee shit we've seen recycled for 100 years almost at this point.
Yeah. So. Well, and I don't know Peniston. I've never had a conversation with the guy,
He's a nice guy if you meet him.
He probably is. I'm sure he is. And, I genuinely believe that they had an anomalous encounter happen in the woods that night. And, again, this is something that I know I harp on quite a bit. And, we said it. This wasn't taken very seriously. And they probably were laughed at just in general amongst the guys on base. And maybe for somebody, maybe not Burroughs, maybe not Ballsag or whatever his name is, or, Chandler or whatever. But maybe for Jim, something about it kind of messed him up, and he had to create something else to validate his experience. And, I wouldn't do it, but I can get it. I can understand.
Sure. No, it's not unusual. Like we've seen that in this field before, and it is unfortunate because if and when it turns out to have been manufactured evidence, then whatever real experience that these people had becomes meaningless because you can't trust any of it. Now, I do want to say the other side of this is, okay, what if, they really were taken aside and threatened, and Peniston and Halt were the only two who were ever willing to speak out about it. Well, if you want to believe that, I can't stop you, and I can't necessarily disprove that. I don't know with 100% certainty that didn't happen. But I think that there are enough problematic elements of this particular narrative to make one question the validity of that testimony, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, exactly. I mean, you're going to believe what you're going to believe in, whatever we say. And that's okay. You're supposed to do that. We're not here to tell you what to think.
Yeah, unless it's Bigfoot killing people. You got to knock that shit off.
You can't be doing that.
You just go to your room and think about it.
Bigfoot doesn't kill people. We know that he literally does not have the balls because they're too tiny, right? So just stop.
Yeah, he's got like a lipstick tube dick. He's not killing anybody. He's
not risking that getting out to the world, right? So if he kills anybody, it's me and Tobias for spreading it around.
Oh yeah, no, we got targets on our backs.
He's like, I dare you, come out to these woods.
Bigfoot just listening to this podcast, fucking sharpening his knife and then licking it a little bit, just thinking about killing us.
Yeah. So, but whatever. I guess we have it coming, right? That's. But no, yeah, we're not. We can't tell you what your opinion is on things that we can't prove or disprove. But at the end of the day, what we can do is at least try to give you the facts, or as close to the facts as what we have, and what we have. And again, go to the description. I'm going to link a website that does a beautiful job giving you all this information. What we have are the original written reports from these people, and none of them, including Peniston, mention anything about a craft or anything anomalous, overly anomalous happening besides these weird lights. And, but that also means I'm not really in the lighthouse camp either.
Fuck that lighthouse. I think that's just a ridiculous, dismissive explanation, and I always have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's silly, and other government officials have come forward and been like there's one guy who's like, well, they didn't know what a lighthouse was because they were like 20-year-olds and they've never seen a lighthouse. And it's like, again, like Tobias said, these guys are out there patrolling. Is this their first fucking night? All of them? It was their first night there ever.
Right.
They had never seen it before or after. But because they were young men, they probably did come back and give their reports about what they saw. And they said, oh, it was probably just the lighthouse. And they're not going to argue because they're literally in the military and you're taught not to argue.
Yeah.
And they're just going to go, oh, okay. And then again, onto my theory. Well, I think Peniston took issue with that because I think that they saw something and it fucked him up. They kind of fucked him up. And I think that he decided to take this further, and that those good validating feelings of like being on the History Channel and having all these people that are like, man, I believe you. Let me decipher your code for you. Oh, it looks like gibberish, but it's definitely not. And then give him some other message. And then they just kind of feed into that. And, it's harmful for him as an experiencer as well as harmful to the study of this stuff in general. But again, that's psychology for you. Get therapy always. See a therapist, even if you think nothing's wrong with you. Do it.
Just in case.
Just in case, because, it's the brain is so complicated. And we don't really talk about psychology enough in this community, I don't think. So.
No, we sure don't. Like, we can add that to the list of shit that we need to talk about more than, Bigfoot killing people or fucking binary downloads or whatever. Because in case people aren't aware and they have not looked into this, like the stuff claimed in the the binary message, it gets wild. Like, because people will have studied this code and they'll study it probably forever. Because people are never going to stop being interested in stuff like this, which is fine. It is interesting. I do enjoy it. But anyway, so there are people who are claiming that after 7 years, I think, of investigating this binary code, that they discovered that 2 of the 7 sets of and apparently there are 7 sets of geographic coordinates inside of it, point to a special latitude that runs through Giza, Egypt. Huh? Yeah, that's popular in the ufology, right?
Unfortunately. And I was going to initially use this as a segue to next week's episode, and we were going to talk about ley lines, but this is our first episode back. I wasn't ready to open that can up yet.
Well, people should know the kinds of claims being made in this. It's like, look, if you just write down any random string of ones and zeros with no spacing, which is basically what this fucking journal is. Like, you can look at pictures of it, right? And it's just zeros and ones in seemingly random order, and there's no spacing or anything. And so you can project whatever you want on that, right? Like, you can interpret that any way you want and just create the breaks that make sense to you because of how it's written and make it say almost anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because of how it is written down. So I don't know, people.
I know what it says. I've cracked it.
Oh, did you really?
I did.
Good.
It says, and very specifically, you ready?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm into it.
Drink more Ovaltine.
God damn it. You got me again.
It's a little late, but I'm still in that Christmas headspace. But
Nice.
they might as well say that.
It really might as well. Like, I'm not an expert on binary, obviously.
Me neither. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, when you look at this notebook and you're familiar with just language as a concept, like if you've got this endless string of like binary with no spacing, it just seems to me like people would be able to space it however they want to form whatever words they fucking need to support whatever narrative they want to find in this thing. And I'm not even saying that the people interpreting it are making it up, because I think that's a perfectly human thing to do. A confirmation bias is a thing. We're always looking for things that support our own internal biases, right? We're always looking for confirmation of our beliefs. And so if somebody goes into this notebook looking to decipher this binary in a way that's going to support their pre-existing beliefs about the UFO phenomenon, I think that it would be pretty fucking easy to do that, like, obviously.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the 6 degrees of separation, right? So you can find meaning in this code if you are looking hard enough to find meaning in this code. And that's a personal choice that you decide to make. I'm not going to do that because, again, I'm satisfied enough with just the original story. I think the original story is neat enough, and I don't need craft downloading binary code to brains to make it sexier. It's already sexy, right? Give me the little old fashioned, right? That's what I'm into.
Is that what we're calling it?
Some of that old fashioned, yeah. That's that's what I need. Because again, I can't say it enough. I believe something anomalous happened here, but I don't think that that's it. And again, you can decide if it was something bigger, but a lot of other things would have to fall into place for this to make any sense at all. So you'd have the big conspiracy about them being threatened. I mean, even to the point of like, there's claims of like these individuals receiving truth serums and going under like terroristic interrogations. And I mean, it gets pretty fucking dark if you really want to dig into it.
Right.
So like all of that would have to be true too, on top of like either like Burroughs and the rest of them lied about things, right? And they also were trained to conspire against Peniston for what? It's not like Peniston's coming and sharing anything that's new in ufology. It's not like this. It's not like humans from the future are new. It's not like, these doomsday predictions of if we don't do better, we're going to kill ourselves are new. Like, this is all stuff that's been here. So why would the government, just motive, why would they go out of their way to try to make this one person look crazy? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, like, who are these limp dick fucking men in black anyway? Constantly threatening people, but never actually hurting them.
Right.
You know what I mean? This shit happens all the time, supposedly, where they're like, oh, you better not tell anybody about that UFO you touched that downloaded fucking binary pornography into your brain. Or if you do, I'm going to kick you square in the balls. And then, sure enough, the person's like, well, I'm telling everybody. I'm screaming it from the fucking mountaintops. And what happens to them? Do they get kicked square in the balls by the fucking men in black? No, nothing fucking happens to them. Ever. Nothing at fucking all. So either, like, these are just the most worthless fucking threats to ever exist, or it didn't happen.
All they'd have to do is take him out into the same woods that he touched the craft at and shoot him and be like, oh, well, I thought he was an alien, so I shot. Or not even that. I thought he was a Soviet, so I shot him. I mean, it's so much easier.
Training accident, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. It's so much easier than training all these fucking people to not back your story up.
Yep.
On a psychological scale, it just doesn't. the math ain't math in there, unless of course maybe I don't know, maybe Peniston likes getting kicked in the balls and that's the plot twist. He's like, well, I like that shit, so bring it on.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
He's telling everybody, and then he goes to those pesky men in black and he's like, I dare you, do it.
Yeah, do it. I said fucking do it. As he adopts his horse stance. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it just doesn't, Occam's razor, sometimes the simplest explanation is, and not to say that this is even a simple explanation to say that Peniston just made this shit up, because again, if he did, he was brewing it for a long time. And,
yeah.
That's dedication, man. Like, good for you. Whether it be because of some psychological damage he experienced because of this, whether it be because maybe he had some other weird alien encounter that, maybe he's got some screen memories. He was abducted at one point and was given this knowledge, and it's a totally different time and a totally different place, and he just doesn't know, because that's what aliens do, right? They replace your memories. They're good at that, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to give him something here. I'm trying to throw a bone out here. I know you guys want this Quincy story, and I'm trying to give it to you, but
it is sexy enough without all of this nonsense, though. It really, really is. Like, I would so much rather leave this at an honest recounting of unexplained craft than a seemingly dishonest communication between craft and witness. Like, the story was good enough. Like, it was interesting enough when it was just these Air Force personnel who saw something they couldn't explain in the fucking woods. We didn't need the bullshit sci-fi contactee fucking message. We didn't need it. I'm just kind of sick of that crap, like, just let us sit with the fucking mystery. At least it's honest.
Well, it makes people throw it out when you add that bit into it. It makes people just completely check, and unless you're here for it, right? Then that's you, but regular people, regular everyday people, and that's what we need, you guys, to get rid of the stigma. We need regular fucking people to get interested in this stuff.
Is that code for rational people?
I mean, you said it. It is what it is. But that's what we need. We want this taken seriously, right? So we need credible reports. And this is not, the second part of the story is not credible. It has a lot of issues. Just because he was in the military and he was legitimately there that night. He was.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that the rest of that story is credible, because nothing else matches up to his version of events. And if that wasn't there, this would have been, well, and you see, skeptics still would have been like, oh, it's a lighthouse, right? So there's still, there's already, you're fighting skeptics. You don't need to then go and make up a whole nother story to make it seem like the skeptics are wrong. They're just wrong because of, again, logic and reason, right? It's not just a lighthouse, or they'd see it every day, and they don't. But yeah, it hurts. It hurts us when we feed into these really fantastical narratives that more than likely didn't happen based off of evidence and data, because that's the part that matters, is evidence and data.
Yeah, fundamentally, the takeaway here is there are parts of this story that we can corroborate, and there are parts of it that we cannot. And Peniston's testimony about his interaction with this craft is something that we cannot.
Yeah.
And so if you choose to believe that, that's fine. That is your right. But again, you have to do so acknowledging the fact that you are doing it without any additional evidence to support it. So there is nothing about this story that lends itself to being believed, frankly. And so, again, believing that in defiance of this is totally fine, I guess, if that's what you want to do with your life. But pretending as though it is as worthwhile as the rest of the damn story that has tons of corroborating fucking evidence, because it was all very well documented at the time that it happened, is asinine. And we shouldn't do it. We got to stop this shit.
Yeah, well, we definitely do. And, so that's what we try to do here, is tell you, because at the end of the day, scientific discovery doesn't care about unverifiable evidence. It cares about real evidence and data. And that part 2 of the story just doesn't have any of that. And even if one of the guys was like, yeah, it was weird because, Penis Town disappeared for like 45 minutes and we couldn't reach him. Like, then we'd be like, oh, okay.
Right. They had to call him that, right? Like, they had to.
I think that's the
you're
problem.
Like, you're young men, you're in your late teens, early 20s. You meet a guy whose last name is Peniston, spelled that way. There is no way he's not Penis Town.
I think that's what happened, is that everybody was cool, right? He got out of school, right? And he joined the military, and at school it was a nightmare. Everybody called him Penis Town. So he joins the military, and he was cool with those guys. And then they had this UFO thing happen, and now everybody's back to calling him Penis Town again. And he's like,
God damn it.
Escape this. So he had to make up something more interesting than his name. And here we are.
I knew it.
Trauma. It'll do it to you.
It will.
It's
the only thing that makes sense.
It works in mysterious ways. He had to find a way to separate himself from Penis Town, and this was the best that he could do. That's okay. I wonder if the aliens called him Penis Town. Well, they didn't actually talk to him, but I bet they would have.
They would have. Guaranteed.
That's why they downloaded him with knowledge, is because they felt bad for him. They're like, oh, poor guy.
Right. We got to throw this guy a bone. Get it? Throw him a bone, Penis Town?
Penis Town.
Up top. They're high-fiving.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, well, and, because they know, like, it's not like he can just go get married and change his name. It's the 80s. It don't work that way then,
That's true.
I'm just saying. Anyway, I think that, of course, this is a really interesting story. I don't know why people refer to it as, like, the United Kingdom's Roswell. Like, it's not that deep.
No, I don't know if it's because, like, initially they suspected it was like a downed aircraft, or because of like the military involvement. But yeah, no, you're right. Like, it doesn't have like the cultural cachet first, but it also doesn't have like the preponderance of witnesses who have come out after the fact to like support murky business going down surrounding this. Because Roswell had just people coming out of the woodwork to talk about seeing alien bodies and where the bodies were taken and all of this shit. And then, like real credible evidence of a government cover-up. That's the big difference for me between like Roswell and Rendlesham. Is Rendlesham, like, there was no cover-up, at least none that we have evidence for, because it really seems like the government just didn't give a shit. No. Like, they were like, oh, this is nothing. Which, again, people got to understand, like, sometimes there is no conspiracy. Sometimes the conspiracy is incompetence and fucking laziness and government inertia, which is a real thing, Like, people just don't want to do shit. And so they're like, oh, that's fucking nothing. Who cares? Lights in the sky. Nothing. I'm not spending my whole afternoon filling out a report for that. Fuck that shit. So,
well, and don't get confused here. Just because somebody found the Holt memo via FOIA, right? It doesn't mean anything. This wasn't a classified document. It was never hidden, ever. So again, for people that went out of their way to brainwash a couple of army men or whatever into corroborating their version instead of the real version, man, they did a really shitty job trying to hide it. So that's a super interesting tidbit there. But yeah, I don't know why people compare it to Roswell. It's not nearly as cool. It's not even close to like well, which I think is the more interesting story, the Virginia UFO crash and bodies. That's man, that
Mm.
I love that one. But yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's not my favorite, but like it's okay.
I mean, I like it for what it represents, which is just a really well documented UFO encounter.
Yeah.
Because it is really well documented. We've got surviving transcripts of conversations over radio. We have the written testimony. We have all of this stuff from like when it happened. And we don't usually get that.
No.
That's very rare. And so I think it's great. We don't have that shit for fucking Roswell, frankly, because most of the interviews that were the most impactful came decades later. So, having something so well documented, like when it happened at this military site or between two military sites, that's why it's a big deal. That's what makes it important to me. I get that's not the sexiest story, but maybe it's time to just save the fucking sex for entertainment and worry more about whether or not some shit is deep when it comes to stuff like this. It doesn't have to be sensational. Is it fucking real? That's important.
Right, because if it's like I said with Bigfoot sightings, back to Bigfoot again. I know.
Oh boy.
But out of all these thousands and thousands of Bigfoot reports, let's just say 1,000 Bigfoot reports. Even if 999 of those reports aren't real, one still was, and that means it's real. And
right.
That is so important, and people don't think about it on that scope because you already believe in it, right? You're already here. You're already listening to this podcast. You already believe in it, right? So you don't need to validate it further or whatever. But the real validation is going to come in the form of the rest of the world who has no idea any of this shit has ever happened and probably never will. Let's be honest, unless we start talking about this stuff honestly. Again, that's where you're going to find the real validation. That's what's important here. We're ready to move on to that step. Well, I'm ready to move on to that step. I don't know if y'all are. Apparently you're not. I don't know. But, that's why I'm here and that's why I do what I do.
Right.
So work with me here, folks. Help me out a little bit. And if you don't, then you just need to go to your room and you need to think about that.
You need to think about it. Damn it.
You need to think about it.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Tobias, do you have any final thoughts on the Rendlesham?
Oh my God. If anybody has made it this far because they didn't just turn the podcast off in anger at basically every single thing I've said. I really do hope that people make it all the way through this. And I do hope that they know that everything I say and every opinion I hold about these subjects is because I care about them and I care about them very deeply. And it's important to me that they are conveyed truthfully. And that really, really matters to me. It really does. And it's important to me that we do justice to experiencers. It's important to me that witness testimony is related accurately. And because I care about those things, it is important to me to identify those areas of these phenomena that might be suspect. I don't do that because I enjoy being a hater. I don't do that because I am a bully. I don't do that for any reason other than I truly believe that there's something to all of this, just as a human experience, and that means it matters to me, and it should matter to you. And if it matters to you, then you should take it seriously.
Yeah. Well, Exactly. Tobias is so nice. He told me one time the only thing that matters to him is that you're nice to him. That's it.
Fuck yeah, God, guy. I have emotions, and they don't like it when people are mean to me. They only like it when people are nice to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They, they matter. But you know what? I have something to share, and it's that we're going to test this. We're going to test Tobias's limit. We're going to see how far his hate can go.
Oh no.
It is now welcome to season 3 of On Wednesdays We Talk Weird. I know that's weird for a show that's been on for going on 5 years now, but that's the way it is. And this is season 3, and man, I'm really trying to make it as weird as I can. So I'm very excited about that. Hopefully you guys enjoy the upcoming episodes and all of their glory, because I'm trying to pick out the top tier weirdest. We're not out of topics. We'll probably never be out of how can we be out of topics? There's so much to cover in almost 5 years of running this show. And there's some topics I'm going to revisit with Tobias, because I would love for you guys to hear his take on some of these things. But going forward, you're in for a wild ride. And if you're new here, great. It's just going to get better from here. If you have been here for a while, well, you already kind of know what to expect. So...
Yeah, fair.
Very exciting stuff, coming your way. So we'll see how this goes. And hopefully we don't send Tobias to an early grave. So
hopefully not, because if you do, you're not going to get any of the stuff we have coming to our Patreon.
Absolutely.
Which we should mention.
We should mention that.
Yeah. I don't want to forget. Well, it's true, because I've been promising this for like weeks. I'm like, after the holidays, I'm going to have my book submitted. We're going to have time. We're finally going to get all this stuff done, and the time is now. This is the time. So by the time this episode airs, by the end of the week, I will have begun submitting the Mothman reports that we received from Unsolved Mysteries. I will have begun reading them aloud for your listening pleasure and posting them on our Patreon, only for, of course, Patreon subscribers. So yes, if you are at... Oh boy, what are our tiers on Patreon?
Oh geez, that's a really good question, man. We've really been slacking, both of us.
Yes, we are very good at this. Yes, if you are a paid Patreon subscriber, then I will throw those up there and enjoy. I don't know. I think they're pretty cool. If you're interested in Mothman, you're going to want to hear them. So.
We're definitely gonna get that shit together. Tobias is right. The holidays are over. I'm working one job now also, so I have lots more free time available. And I did a lot. I did a lot of personal growth and soul searching over the last probably I'd say 2 years now. And man, am I on an upswing. So I am ready to get out and do more boots on the ground investigations. It's winter right now. Like literally we just got hit with a fucking blizzard. So like be chill about that right now. But right. I don't want to end up like other people. That's really insensitive. Sure. I shouldn't say that. But
let's say this. Let's say, because I'm looking at it right now, if you are an official weirdo, that's only $3 a month. Then I'm going to unlock every video of me reading Mothman reports from Unsolved Mysteries for that tier and above. Yeah. So official weirdos and above, you're going to get exclusive Unsolved Mysteries Mothman reports. Only at the on Wednesdays We Talk Weird Patreon, which is of course at patreon.com/WednesdaysTalk.
And I'm just saying, if you guys go flood the Patreon and you sign up for it, then there might be incentive to unlock a secret tier later on down the line where Tobias reads these shirtless. So
it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. Money can buy a lot of things.
So, my dignity among them. Yes.
I mean, I didn't say that the camera would be anywhere but your face, but I'm just saying it could happen. So.
Right. You can't see me right now, but I am wearing tassels. So you'll have to use your imagination to picture where. But
They're on your elbows, aren't they? I knew it. Elbow tassler you.
Right.
Okay, with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.